The Pixel 4a has a Qualcomm Snap 730, which doesn't support 5G. This is kind of where my head was going. It's like, how are they making a 5G version of the 4a if it's going to have a Snap 730? The only sensible chip this phone could have is the Snap 765G, which immediately the alarm is going off in my head, because I was like, it can't have a 765G, can it? Because the 765G is saved for the Pixel 5. So if they decide to make a Pixel 4a 5G with the Snapdragon 765 chipset, does that mean that the Pixel might have a higher end chipset? Yesterday, I went over a rumor that people were saying the Pixel 5 XL might have a Snapdragon 865. So are things changing? The confusion is just, the mystery of all this is just growing. So let's read on, because I don't know what 9 to 5 Google is thinking, or where they think this is going. But recently, a couple of Pixel 5 renders surfaced. Remember that Pixel 5 XL leak? This is the one I talked about yesterday. After today's Google app info dump, we're pretty confident that that phone is actually the Pixel 4a 5G. Interesting. So this is what I talked about yesterday, was this phone that people were saying might be a Pixel 5 XL. And now I guess 9 to 5 Google is thinking this is not a Pixel 5 XL, but this is a Pixel 4a 5G. Huh. So with a better chipset. Okay. This would compete then directly with the OnePlus Nord, which is probably not even going to launch in the US. Okay, this is really interesting now. So, and we think that the physical size of the device to what I guess they were thinking was the 5XL will be one of a few differentiators between the 4A and the 4A 5G. So the 4A 5G will be a bigger device than the 4A. So the 4A 5G would essentially be like a 4A XL, except it has 5G on it. There's a few reasons to think this. My head is just kind of like really churning at this point, but perhaps the most obvious is that what XLeak 7 called the Pixel 5 XL has a headphone jack. Okay, that's right. We talked about that yesterday too. So this headphone jack here, that was a little... So that makes a lot of sense now, because yesterday I had talked about how they were saying this was going to have a Snapdragon 865, but it has a headphone jack, but it also has a plastic back. And I was like, okay, that doesn't make sense. But if you look at this as a bigger version of the Pixel 4a, but it still has a better chipset. So I wonder what the price is going to be on that. The phone they call the Pixel 5 XL, which we believe is the Pixel 4a 5G. Very interesting. The headphone jack is a key sign of a phone on the lower end of the spectrum. It's funny how a headphone jack automatically makes it a lower end phone. But more importantly, if there have been 3 CAD drawings that have leaked in the form of renders, and they're real, and one of them happens to not have a headphone jack, it's almost certain that that phone is the Pixel 5. The phone we assume will try to differentiate itself in as many ways as possible from the 4A and 4A 5G. In summary, that means the 4A 5G is going to be a Pixel 4A with a larger physical body, a larger but similar style screen, a Snap 765G chipset, a presumably larger battery, and a second camera, if the leaked CAD renders are to be believed. Pretty much everything else about the phone will likely be the same as the 4A, but those are big differences, which, as I mentioned, we already know everything about. Voila, you now know what the Pixel 4a 5G is. Okay, so let's break this down again. Pixel 4a, Snapdragon 730 chipset, smaller form factor, smaller display, smaller battery, one camera, $350 to $400 is my assumption. So, okay, let's take a look at this 4A 5G, right? If this is the Pixel 4a 5G, a bigger form factor, bigger display, bigger battery, a faster chipset, so a Snapdragon 765 chipset instead of a Snapdragon 730, rear fingerprint reader. I mean, those are all the same, but it's going to have an extra camera. So ultra wide. What is this going to price at? 6 gigs internal storage, or 6 gigs RAM, 128 gigs internal storage. What is this going to price at? $500? I think that's a pretty good deal for $500. If it's going to, this would definitely be a better competitor than the Nord. This would be a better buy than the Nord. If the Nord, so we're going to go into the Nord. We're going to talk about that in a second, but I think this would be a better deal at $500 if it prices at $500. If they make a 4A 5G at $500, I think that's a hell of a deal. It won't compete with the iPhone SE, but maybe that's what the Pixel 4a is for. And this would just be a step above. That's not a bad phone. Maybe that's why they decided not to sell right away, because they said, hey, maybe they weren't ready to release this 4a 5G that they've been stashing away. That's why we didn't hear anything about a 4a XL, or that they were scrapping it. And maybe this is what they had under wraps. That makes a lot more sense than a Pixel 5 XL with a plastic back, a headphone jack, and an 865 chipset. What are they going to do with the Pixel? Well, I think that's the rest of this article. I was going to say, what are they going to do with the Pixel 5? So that leaves us with the Pixel 5. We also believe that last week's leak of the 5 in CAD drawings was real. Okay, as was noted. Wow. So if they think that's real, that makes me happy, because it'll look just like the 4A or the 4A 5G, if that's what that is, and it'll just be a jacked version of the 4A. I'd be down with that. As was noted by the leakster themselves, that phone does not have a headphone jack. The phone is physically smaller than the Pixel 4a 5G. Sorry, I meant to make this bigger, but it's likely to have a handful of features to make it clearly the most, quote, flagship of the 3 phones this year. Will it be a true flagship going to toe-to-toe with the iPhone Pro series or the Galaxy Note 20? Nope, but it'll likely go right up against the standard iPhone 12 or standard Galaxy SXE series phones. And to do so, it needs to have a far higher quality external build than the 4A. And that was something I talked about yesterday. As far as build quality, the Pixel 5, I think, needs to up their build quality. Not that the Pixel 4 is bad by any means, but now after owning, and I keep sharing this phone because the quality on this phone is amazing, on my Huawei P40 Pro Plus, this build quality is amazing even compared to my iPhone 11 Pro. My iPhone 11 Pro already feels quality and premium, but this has it beat. Yeah, it has it beat. They're very similar in terms of quality, but I'm really digging the quality on the Huawei P40 Pro Plus. And I just feel like, well, if the Pixel 5 is going to be priced at $700, then I guess they don't really have to worry about making the quality that high end, but I would love to see it. So if this Pixel 5 is true, that means we're getting a fingerprint reader back, which makes me happy, because that's something I sorely miss on my Pixel 4. I'd be totally down with this design for the Pixel 5. $700 is a lot more than I'd really like to pay, but that's not bad at all. If this is what I'm gonna get, well, I don't want to say this, it's not that bad at all, because who knows how good the camera on the Pixel 5 is going to be. Who knows how it's going to compare in terms of camera quality versus the iPhone 12. And then I guess another big thing to think about is how good is this battery going to be. The Pixel 4 just didn't cut it right when it came to battery this time around, and the Pixel 5 really needs to make sure that it fixes that. We can make lots of educated guesses. Sorry, I meant to, there you go. About what will set the Pixel 5 apart from the 4a and Pixel 4a 5G. We'd expect that it'll have a more premium build than the 4a and 4a 5G wireless Qi charging. It says, in fact, our deeper look at Android 11 Developer Preview 1 showed a, quote, battery share feature that suggests a Pixel 5 exists with reverse wireless charging. The device with the fingerprint sensor is as much a Pixel 4a as the other device with no notch is a Pixel Ultra. Oh, that's a cool idea, actually, to charge your Pixel Buds, I guess, if you want to use it for that. I've never ever used reverse wireless charging, but I mean, this only makes sense that this would be a Pixel 5 if it's going to have Qi charging on it, right? And the 4a is not. As for the things it'll share, it's obvious that the Pixel 5, as we detailed in previous diggings through AOSP, will actually have the same system on a chip as the Pixel 4a 5G. And if our theory is correct, that means the Pixel 4a 5G will actually have a larger display than the Pixel 5. So this is something that's going to be a point of contention for me. So if this Pixel 4a 5G, right? If this Pixel 4a 5G up here is going to have the same chipset as this Pixel 5, and this 4a 5G is going to have a bigger display, it's going to be priced cheaper, it's going to be a tough sell for the Pixel 5, I think, unless the Pixel 5's cameras are going to blow the 4As out of the water. I think that's the only way you're really going to, I mean, who cares then about build quality and wireless charging if it's going to have the same similar camera and it has the exact same chipset and then it's priced a lot higher? I don't think people would spend more money for wireless charging and better build quality, would they? And a smaller display. That doesn't make sense. That in a marketing world, that doesn't make sense to me. But not even really just marketing in general, just like logic. I think for a lot of people would be like, why would I pay more money if it's the same performance and it's a bigger display and it's cheaper and the camera is essentially the same? Am I right in that thinking? If the pieces we put together are correct, the third Pixel for 2020 will be a Pixel 5 that's between the Pixel 4a and 4a 5G in size, with the Snap 765G and probably a handful of other features, like improved build quality and wireless charging. That's not enough to make the Pixel 5 worth it, to make it stand out as a higher end. If the CADs are to be believed, it'll have the same camera setup, at least on the outside, as the 4a 5G. Again, this is not a good selling point for the Pixel 5. If the CADs are to be believed and our theory is correct, all three phones will leave behind face authentication and solely in favor of fingerprint sensors, thank God, also known as Pixel Imprint. I forgot that's what it was called. What about the Pixel 5 XL or Pixel 5 Ultra? Long story short, there's no evidence that either the 5 XL or 5 Ultra exist. Google is hyper leaky, as we saw both earlier this year with the original leak of the code names and today with the leak of their associated product names, so we're gonna roll with that. Don't expect Google to come out of nowhere later this year and launch a true successor to the Pixel 4. We don't think it's happening. Really interesting. I didn't expect this from this article, and I think it helps clear a lot of things up for me. But now there's a lot of confusion when it comes to my thoughts on the Pixel 5. I feel like the Pixel 5 now is going to be DOA, especially if it prices at especially if it prices at $700 and the 4a 5G is like $500. I would have a hard time recommending the 5 for better build quality and wireless charging. Doesn't seem worth it to me. For an extra $200, I mean, why even call it a Pixel 5 at that point? It's like a 4a 5G, what? Plus minus. It's a smaller display, smaller battery, probably same chipset, same camera, or a similar camera. I don't know.